As you board the flying train from Orbis Station, you might realize that wherever you're headed, it isn't like any place that came before. The more realistic design of Osiria and Victoria Island turns into something youthful, almost infantile, with hyper-saturated colors and oversized proportions. MapleStory already has flying boats, and they're awesome, but the train to Ludi is everything all at once. Think about it, it's a train, but it also carries an anchor like a ship, a propeller like a plane, wings like a bird, and right at its center, a giant wind-up handle. It's as if the whole thing needed to be cranked just to stay airborne. And the shield mounted on its side gives it a militaristic touch, perhaps a hint that wherever you're going, it might not be as peaceful as the toy look might suggest. You're welcomed into Ludibrium with what feels like fanfare. The music greets you first, a whimsical little march that sounds like it's being played by a Toy Factory orchestra. And Ludibrium itself is just loud. And I don't just mean the soundtrack, the colors are cranked to the max here, and even the buildings have smiles built into them. Ludibrium is the Latin word for toy or plaything, and the main design idea is obvious. It's made of Legos. Everything from the trees, the people, and the bricks under your feet. It looks like something the kid version of me could only dream of building. It's a place where everyone seems happy and everything is bright and fun. But we'll soon find out that the cheerful city of the surface is only the tip of the iceberg. Ludibrium is suspended far above Ludus Lake, held up by two ridiculously tall towers, the Eos and Helios. Beneath the surface are a series of layers that make up the true bulk of the city. There are already signs that things might not be quite hunky-dory. Marcel, the head of security, recruits you to help clean up the Eos towers. And by cleaning up, they mean extermination. The mechanical creatures there were designed to be helpful, but have become rampant pests. The tasks escalate quickly. Rats, black rats, tricksters, blocktopus, block golems, basically every creature you'll meet on the way down the tower. All leading to a final showdown with Rombot, the leader of the monsters there. It's a pretty worthwhile questline too, rewarding a random glove attack scroll that can fetch a hefty price on the market. At the top of Eos Tower, you're asked to band together with other adventurers to confront the Dimensional Crack, a rift where monsters seem to be pouring out endlessly. It's another clear sign that something in Ludibrium is seriously wrong. The cheerful toy box charm of the city starts to feel like a mask that's starting to slip. There's a lot to say about Ludibrium Party Quest. For many players, it's the pinnacle of old school MapleStory gameplay. But that's a topic I'll have to save for another video. Below Ludibrium, the first layer you reach is Terrace Hall, a place filled with friendly-looking monsters who've turned hostile. Thankfully, they don't pack much of a punch yet. It's a common stopping point for players who've just advanced to second job, but aren't quite high enough level to start running LPQ. Off to the left is Cloud Terrace, which ends in a balcony overlooking Ludus Lake. It's probably the highest view you can get from Ludibrium without seeing the city itself. There's nothing else there and no real reason to visit, but it makes for a great spot to propose to your Maple GF, if you have one. I always loved the toy Trojans here, and the fact that they drop their own swords as etc. items is pretty cool. Drop through the hole in the center of Terrace Hall, and you land in the Toy Factory. If the name didn't give it away, the music will. You'll feel like one of the 7 dwarves with all the tink-a-tink sounds and mechanical rhythms here. It's the perfect backdrop for the amount of labor you're about to be volunteered for. So Nemi sends you down here with what seems like a simple errand: deliver manager Carl's forgotten lunchbox. But you soon realize there's probably a reason he forgot it. Carl has a lot on his mind, because things down here are going haywire. He calls it another day at work, but the fact that he asks you to check on 10 roly-poly workers just to confirm they're actually at their stations is pretty telling. This is far from normal. These roly-polies aren't even supposed to be in the tower. They were pulled in to help deal with the damage caused by the dimensional crack, and Carl clearly doesn't trust them to get anything done without supervision. And that's just the start. The robos manufactured here are getting destructive. Rocky needs you to track down essential parts. Mac the mechanic is missing a maintenance manual, and Assistant Chang sends you into the depths of hell to recover a few missing screws. Yeah, everything here is not fine. Below the toy factory, things start to get a bit more abstract. This is the whirlpool of time, and its otherworldly glows and synthy music are a sharp contrast to the mechanical vibes of the floor above. Grandpa Clock sits in an area called Lost Time, and he's running out of steam. Olsen the Toy Soldier asks you to help by delivering a new pendulum, which you acquire by the weirdest quest ever, where you have to find a slightly different looking dollhouse, cause that's where they store essential parts around here. Anyway, a new pendulum and spring are enough to keep him ticking a little longer, but it points to a deeper problem within Ludibrium. Toys and gadgets have become monsters running wild, but why? The dimensional crack in Eos Tower is only a symptom. Time itself seems to be stopping. The first creatures you meet here, ticks and tick-tocks, look like alarm clocks gone wrong. These strange amalgamations have started appearing in the clock tower, literally feeding on time. How do you even do that? I don't have an answer, but I will say that they have one of the most satisfying hit sounds in the entire game. Surrounding the whirlpool are other beings twisted by temporal distortion. Chronos were once ordinary wall clocks, discarded and then taken over by dark forces. Now they're hateful, angry, and their design evokes serious anguish. Their stronger variants can cast magic that actually kind of hurts, but mostly they're just really good at sniping you off ladders. Even though they're just reanimated objects, I guess they still count as undead, since clerics can damage them with heal. Training spots for clerics are rare, but this place is one of their staples. And Master Chronos is valuable for everyone, since they're one of the easiest sources of elixirs. They also have a slim chance to drop Helmet for Dex 60% scrolls, which are highly sought after by pretty much anyone who isn't a magician. At the end of the whirlpool is the Path of Time. Right at the entrance, it looks like the jigsaw-shaped walls start breaking apart, and the true depth of the place becomes apparent. This is the beginning of what's known as the Clock Tower lower floor. Ludibrium is held up by the two towers, but its internal structure is anchored by a central clock tower. That's what we've actually been descending through this whole time. The world map doesn't do this area justice. If you account for the actual size of the maps down here, you realize this region is way deeper than anything above it. Not just in height, but in sheer sense of scale. The background looks almost cosmic, and the drifting clouds make this place feel unfathomably large. There's a few platforms and ladders to help you down from here, but I've never used them. Here, most of us like to jump, and it's a long way down. At the bottom is Toby, the grocer. MapleStory loved putting a potion seller at dungeon entrances. They did it in Sleepywood, they did it in Elnath, and they did it here. It's a convenient pit stop before continuing deeper, but the prices are just a bit higher. It's useful for NPCing junk or recharging stars if you forgot to do it in town. Mr. Buffon confirms that time has stopped, and that the power source that keeps Ludibrium running has vanished. He asks for your help to fix this, but we'll come back to him later. Path of Time is a fork in the road. From here, two routes run parallel downward. We'll start with the right side, the Ghostbuster route. No, seriously, look at this guy. He's literally a Ghostbuster. He wants you to free the monsters here by destroying them. Well, that is what we do best, but what happened to them to deserve such a fate? The teddy bears here have become slaves to cursed spirits because of the dimensional schism. Wait, dimensional schism? Earlier, I thought you said dimensional crack. Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Earlier, we talked about the dimensional crack, the LPQ up in Eos Tower. That crack is just one of many fractures caused by the larger problem, the dimensional schism. These cracks run all throughout the clock tower, and the monsters here are just another result of that corruption. Everything in Ludibrium that's hostile now was once friendly, useful, or at least harmless to the people who live here. But the bigger issue, the reason the schism exists at all, is that time is stopped. That's what's causing distortions in space-time, and perhaps why the monsters get more dangerous the closer you get to the center of the clock tower. The terrain here is a series of narrow towers connected by thin platforms. It feels pretty wonky, and learning how to rotate through a map like this is no simple task. From the look of the background, it also seems like where we are is just one among dozens if not hundreds of other towers. The mobs here aren't great for training, not just because of the awkward map layout, but because they fall into that level 60 to 70 range where the XP to HP ratios are abysmal. If you want a deep dive into why mobs in that bracket suck, I've got a whole video on that. I'll put the link in the description. In Forgotten Path of Time 3, the tone shifts again. The gentle lullaby waltz from earlier maps drops into a minor key, and a filtered drum beat creeps in underneath, adding this uneasy pulse that adds tension. Death Teddies patrol the wider platforms here. Their design is a direct step up from Soul Teddy, but here, all the warmth and coziness that teddy bears usually have is completely gone. While Soul Teddy still moved on its own, like the spirit was piloting the toy, Death Teddy has lost all autonomy. It just hangs there, motionless, fully puppeted by whatever dark force has taken over. This is an excellent training spot for solo priests and fire poison mages. And because Death Teddy's maps are so big, it makes for a great place to party up as well. In Forgotten Path of Time 4, instead of a spirit controlling a toy, the ghost is the one being restrained. The monster book entry reads, "A long time ago, the king of Ludibrium punished the sinners of heinous crimes by locking them inside a clock, forcing them to reflect on their sins for eternity. However, the evil spirits that were locked inside the clocks were awakened during the temporal schism." Damn. Looking at its horns and monstrous mouth, it's clear that these weren't innocent prisoners, but sealed away for all eternity? That's messed up, but also really awesome lore. We've reached the bottom of the clock tower, but before heading into its center, it's worth doubling back to explore the other side. This left portal leads into the warped path of time. Instead of haunted or possessed toys like we saw on the right, the creatures here are former workers whose spirits were consumed by the schism, turning them violent. Buffies are the mildest form we encounter. They'd look pretty friendly if they weren't actively trying to kill you. And in the next map, we start to notice a pattern. Those jester hats might have actually been part of the uniform down here. Buffoons are said to be monsters who once worked deep within the clock tower. They lug around huge wall clocks and slam them down to create shockwaves. I can't help wondering if the clocks they're carrying are the same kind that became possessed over on the right side. The floor lines up perfectly with where you'd find clocks and dark clocks, so it's not a stretch to imagine. I gotta say, I really love buffoons. They're not great XP by any means, but they're very melee friendly. And the angled blue platforms here give you lots of opportunities for those little jump boosts as you move through the map. For this next part, we need to take a moment to appreciate the absolute banger of a music track. This might just be my favorite Maple background music of all time. I could break down why it's so good, but come on, you already know. Anyway, this floor introduces a new theme for the monsters down here. These guys aren't workers or haunted teddy bears, they're straight up pirates. Ghost pirates. Ghost pirates actually come from outside Ludibrium, drifting in through what the monster book calls the infinitude of the space-time continuum. And apparently it gets pretty cold out there, because these guys are resistant to ice attacks, but deathly afraid of fire. They're here to pillage lost adventurers, and given their nonchalant expression, they're having a great time doing it. At the very bottom of the warped path, you meet my favorite looty mob, Spirit Vikings. Unlike the pirates above, these guys aren't here to steal anything, they just wandered in and got stuck. They want to go home, and they're just mad that the schism has messed up their travel plans. And I guess they think you're responsible, because they'll fire cannonballs at you non-stop. I actually like their attacks though. The cannonballs move so slowly that you can dodge them pretty easily. Spirit Vikings are also enormous, with a hitbox tall enough to give ranged classes plenty of safe spot options. I think they're good guys at heart. Just look at the Gig, he has an actual halo. He's a veritable angel. Between the two bottom floors of each path are the passages that lead into the center of the clock tower. To help convey the stopped time, the music here loses all sense of rhythm, with just fragments of melodies between long, uneasy silences. On the right side, the path is surrounded by floating doorways to who knows where. On the left, heavy metal doors sit locked tight. Both routes are home to mini-bosses who absolutely do not want you going any farther, and they have fearsome attacks to threaten you with. Thanatos and Gatekeeper aren't from Ludibrium. They've been summoned here by someone to guard the entrance to the clock tower's central chamber. And because the map is completely flat, there's no easy way around them. You either tank the hit, wait for them to wander far enough away for you to slip by, or just be a rogue. These monsters alone make the trip down here worth it. Not because of XP or drops, but because they're just so freaking cool. They're like the perfect final warning before the end of the dungeon. Once you get past them, you step into a surprisingly peaceful space, deep inside the clock tower. There are no enemies here, and it feels almost like a park with benches and street lamps. And right in the center is a set of, well, let's just call them bleachers, because this has got to be one of the most iconic guild photo spots in MapleStory history. Here, we enter the origin of Clock Tower. Without the right item, there isn't much you can do here, but you can immediately see what's wrong. The massive clock at the center is missing a vital component. Something was ripped out of it. Back up at the Path of Time, Mr. Buffon has been guiding you through a series of quests to help save Ludibrium. He explains that Papulatus, a creature that slipped into Ludibrium through a dimensional crack, stole the Time Sphere, the power source that keeps Ludibrium running. To fix this, Buffon sends you hunting for tachyons and mysterious powder from the monsters in Deep Ludi. With those materials, he thinks he can create a new Time Sphere. But before any of that matters, Papulatus needs to be dealt with. Buffon tells you that replacing the cracked dimensional piece that Papulatus slipped in through will force him out of hiding. And once you do, the Time Sphere is revealed. Papulatus emerges. He's actually just like a little ghost plant guy, but he shows up piloting the clock tower's central clock, using it like a giant mech to crush you with. To be honest, I don't actually have any real memories of killing this boss myself. I was always way too noob for bosses like this. But I did watch plenty of videos, and from everything I've seen, this fight is really long. Push through with your party to complete the quest, and you're rewarded with one of the coolest items in Old Maple, the Ludibrium Cape. At level 100, it was the beefiest cape you could get, and seeing someone wearing it marked them as a certified pro. Ludibrium, to me, is one of MapleStory's greatest achievements in world building. It goes a step beyond the earlier dungeons by giving you just enough story to anchor the journey without drowning you in walls of text. It trusts you to piece things together, to notice the shifts in tone and environment changes yourself. You start in this cheerful toy city floating above the clouds, dealing with just malfunctioning toys. And before you know it, you're facing interdimensional horror at the bottom of the clock tower. I really can't wait to experience it again in MapleStory Classic World. To train here and explore it with fresh eyes. And feel that descent from innocence to dread all over again. Videos like this one take a really long time for me to make, so I just want to give a thanks to my channel members for helping make them possible. Kairui Zhang, Speaker Dan, Kevin Tapp, Kruya 1001, Shinsa, Kodayo, Hilton, Dididiah Rockwell, The Third Phase of Lumpy Gravy, Alon Shlomo, Hero Maple, Killer Sos, and Nadern FGC.